Yeah, I think COVID-19, now everything in the world is as pre-COVID, post-COVID, kind of, it definitely changed the world um, in its own ways. And I think, especially in countries like India, there there was a lot of discussion, and which was an urgent, right? There's an immediate urgent health emergencies that was needed. But I think what we were not looking at that immediate moment of time, and maybe because with everything happening on the ground, was the longer term repercussions of the social economic repercussions that COVID is going to leave behind. Um, we know that in the state of Uttar Pradesh, there was a research that was done where 57% of the girls who were already in school were unsure of getting back into school, right? And so forget the girls who are not in school. That was a very different question. These are girls who are already in school. Uh, Child marriages increased by almost about 17%. We've seen enhanced risk of even trafficking. So during COVID, the girls were the last and the least to be fed. Uh, and at the same time, there was a very interesting thing that which bothers me also is when you look at the people who were there on the ground working, be it around vaccinations, ration reliefs, most of them were women, uh, right? So just looking at how there is a gender divide in terms of they might be the last and least to be fed in the homes, but at the same time they were on the forefront of all the entire recovery process. Um, and in the communities we work in, the first thing we did was to kind of bring our girl leaders together to really understand what we can do. Um, and instead of getting into, and took a step back, giving them the power to make those decisions because they were on the ground. Um, and most importantly, listening of what they are feeling, and what do they, how can we help? Because help is not always material. There was definitely need for material help. And I think that played a very, very important role of how we also evolved as an organization using technology, finding more connections, building an entire network of mentors. We have almost about 300 girls from the alumni who have come as mentors, supporting other girls into the setup, and just having somebody to talk to you, right? Like I think that becomes a challenge. Um, in terms of, I think with the fund, um, I have a very, very deep gratitude because number one, COVID was also a difficult time for nonprofits. And I know there are states, countries like in the developed world where nonprofits also got some support from the government to sustain their employees and to kind of just retain what they are. In developing countries, specifically in India, there was no support. And rather, there was a lot of diversion of funding that we were hearing, which was happening, or saying donors moving it from saying, oh, we don't know what is going to happen to girls' education. At this moment of time, there needs to be more money to go to this hospital. And so we're going to divert that funding. Um, I think from that perspective, there was so much of anxiety within the system of saying, how will we even sustain and survive? Um, Having people to stand by you to say we are there to support you, and kind of creating that space for the money to be unrestricted to support, to just hold the organize. I think sometimes when you're in the storm, you just need to hold on to something. And I think it just created that strong pillar that we could potentially hold on to. And then we also, through the Girl Rising, we were also able to get a COVID support grant. And I think between the two, it was really helpful for us to just let it pass and absorb everything that has happened for the organization to be able to move to the next stage. And I think as just the leader of the organization, I feel very proud that people say that difficult times help you build stronger. And that has literally happened with us, that we were able to, as we moved out of COVID, we scaled almost 6 times. We used to work with 300 girl leaders. Our last batch was 1,800 girl leaders, right? And that was a scale which was we not even imagined. But I think we realized that if not now, then when? Because COVID has already disturbed the entire, equations of what we had worked for that for the decade. It literally there's no doubt that it actually pulled back the work that has happened specifically in the girls' empowerment education space by almost a decade. And if we don't push ourselves to move fast with what we have lost, we will never be able to cover up. We came out stronger, but it also because there were people like the fund and like Gold Rising, everybody just standing behind us and saying, "We are there, we are there, we are there." And I think that feeling is unprecedented, and I'm very grateful for that.
Actually, just to echo what Nirendra was saying, like during COVID, it was a bit difficult, but when we actually got into partnership with GR just before COVID, we just got into partnership, and then COVID hit, schools were closed, there were no movements. The government will not want to see more than 5 people together. So it was a bit of a challenge, but I think this funding came at a time where it was really needed, because Kenya was also recording a high rate of teenage pregnancies. The girls were not in school, so there were a lot of people taking advantages. And we just had to come up with a way with local authorities on how to engage girls, because there was the challenge of teenage pregnancies. So we took advantage of that time, and that's when we actually piloted our Girl Rising curriculum with the girls that we targeted within the center, but we did it in clusters of different classes. And that is more or less the same time Debbie was also joining in. So it was a very a very good coordination of where we were starting. But the funding has actually helped us reach more than 800 children within different schools within the informal settlements over these years. And apart from reaching the girls only, we also managed to reach boys also within the same classes that we targeted, which has made them now see girls differently, because them going through the curriculum and seeing that, so the challenges that they actually face within the slums might be different, but they really resonated with all these stories that they watched of different girls from different countries talk about, like homelessness, talk about like child abuse, child labor. They actually see it, but they don't know how to approach it. But the moment we actually raised it as an issue, so the boys would actually say, now we see how we get to support our sisters. So they are not supposed to face this. We are not a priority in that house better than them. So we are all equal. So it really brought out the gender equality bit even within the children, and how they actually saw that. Then the most important aspect that we touched on this year was the parental engagement, just to listen to how parents are now even talking about the curriculum. Their children went through the curriculums. Now it was their turn, and it was just an eye-opener when they also gave feedback on how they see the challenges, the global challenges that are affecting parenting, and how this curriculum is actually solving that, because it has clearly laid out all the issues that affect things like how parents are dealing with children. And I remember at a session, a parent was, we need to support this because these things are happening, and if we don't talk about it, then it will actually be the poison that will kill our own children. So this was reality, and it could actually speak to our audience. Girl Rising has also been helpful in terms of capacity building. We've been part of different initiatives like storytelling, how to just improve our organization on how to package our stories, and even reporting, how to do monitoring and evaluation. And this has, it came in very handy, because when Girl Rising came in, we were also a startup. So all these, they were all very needed. Yes, you have the expertise, but again, running a startup is very unique. So you need to put systems in place. So, the fund has also really helped us. And how we are moving forward is something that we are already crafting. There's no way we are going to drop the curriculum with the schools that we work with, because it's something that they've already really they are already applying in the schools. So we've trained teachers who are actually now using the curriculum, and within the next year, we want to hand it over to them and be supervising them to see that they're actually implementing within their schools. It has been working well for the past 2 years this year and last year. So next year, we also want to see that this is in effect. And with time, we also want to roll it in public schools because we've seen the impact. It's, so why don't we spread it out to the public schools within the informal settlements? We have so many school-going children. I think there are more than 100,000. So this is still needed. The curriculum is needed within schools to make that change that we always talk about. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Rukia. It has been really extraordinary to see and be by your side also on this journey and see how much you've grown and all the incredible work that you're doing. Dhirendra, I'm interested to hear what lies ahead for Milan Foundation. We're just about to enter here our final year of the fund, and curious, what does the future look like for Milan Foundation? What's coming down the pike for you?
Yeah, I think number one, as I was listening to Rukia, I was also kind of thinking, time has just flown by, right? It was sometimes when you look back and it seems like the universe conspires. We were one of the last, almost towards one of the last organizations that Jim and Kathy met, and then became one of the 2 organizations who were part of the fund. So very grateful to that. And I just can't believe that it's been 5-6 years. It's just like, it seems like it's not true. Something is not adding up. I think as an organization during the last 5 years of working with GR, we definitely grown a lot, both horizontally and vertically in that sense. Some of the things that I wanted to highlight, besides just the unrestricted money that helps us to kind of grow, was the mentoring support we got. I still pick up the phone and talk to Kathy sometimes. And it's like, hey, I'm stuck. What do you think? And I think that there are very few platforms when you could have so much of lived experience at that end to be able to learn from and guide through. The curriculum, the Girl Icon, the Girl Rising curriculum, I don't know how much of you know, but we've also weaved into the Girl Icon curriculum. So there's a lot of stories, a lot of activities we're using within the curriculum. So it's been a very, very good merger in terms of that. And yeah, just the capacity of the organization. I think the 2 organizations have worked very closely, and I think there's the capacity of the organization around storytelling, around just planning, monitoring, and evaluations, and a lot of. I think the grant was one umbrella, but I think there's a lot of other smaller projects and projects that we've done together. In terms of moving forward, Christina, I think we are currently in a 3-year strategy where we're targeting to work with over 100,000 girls. In the first phase of our strategy, which started in 2022, we've already worked with about 40,000, and now we're moving towards to work with another 60,000. And I think as we do this, we are also looking at generating more evidence and data around our work. So we've actually just gone through one evaluation by Kantar Public. We're doing some work with Michigan State here to be able to generate more evidence around our work, which is what we want to do. And I think once we do this, once we are able to meet our milestone of doing this strategy by 2025, I think moving forward, we are also looking at how do we develop, like we've already developed the Girl Icon as a model where we've implemented it ourselves, but we're also thinking, how do we develop it as as an openly available model and structure with relevant monitoring and evaluation frameworks, curriculums, design, capacity, that the other organizations in the Global South can take it to their own communities. Because when you talk about leadership building, leadership building has the potential to ride any sectorial project that you're doing, right? So if somebody's just working on section productive health or education or classrooms, or livelihood or college education, leadership has the potential to kind of, be a very good layer around it. And I think I know our communities might be very different, Rukia, but at the end of the day, what we're all fighting is how do we really change the mindsets, right? If we are able to change the mindsets at the community level, get the community to invest and believe in girls, as they normally do with their boys, then we are able to kind of bring that change. So that's what I think we're looking at more around the future, and we are hoping that our work with Girl Rising and our partnership with Girl Rising will continue in whatever form and models it may.